Well, this is chapter 12, and it is learners with exceptionalities. So why this chapter is important? This chapter is really important because learners with exceptionalities have needs that might go beyond what is typically given in a general education classroom, and learning how to accommodate those needs through instruction and additional services can make all the difference for those students. So who are learners with exceptionalities? One really big thing that the book emphasized is using people first or person first language. And the goal is to put the person first, not the disability. So an example of this would be, instead of saying the autistic child, you say the child with autism. So you want to avoid making the person equal the disability. Obviously, we all have so many things that make us who we are, and reducing someone down to just their disability and reducing them down to just that label does a huge injustice. So this video is a really short, really quick one about person first language, how to use it, when to use it, and how people with disabilities view it as well. So, types of exceptionalities. Intellectual disabilities. Students with intellectual disabilities might have significant limitations in their intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior, and these are typically classified based on the level of need the level of need and support that a student needs in school. Learning disabilities. This is more of a general term for a wide variety of disorders that can cause significant difficulties or delays in things like speaking, listening, reading, writing, reasoning, or computing. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD. Students with ADHD might be really impulsive in their actions, might have difficulty paying attention, be really hyperactive behavior. Students with ADHD do not qualify for special education unless they have some other disability or disorder that's combined or that's mentioned in the law. And then speech or language impairments. So looking at this, you might think that these are the same things, but speech and language disorders are not interchangeable. So a child with a speech disorder in your classroom might have difficulties with articulation. So if a student can't pronounce like the letter R, or they have a lisp, that's an example of a speech disorder. And a language disorder are impairments of the ability to understand language or to express ideas in your native language. So not having to do with speaking. A language disorder is more having to do with the ability to take in language that you're hearing. So some more exceptionalities. Emotional and behavior disorders, EBD. Students with EBD can have an inability to learn. They might display inappropriate behaviors or feelings towards a certain situation or event. Unhappiness or depression, inability to maintain relationships with their peers or the other adults in the school is a really big one. And then another really big one is physical symptoms or fears of school. So students with EBD can oftentimes have really big feelings, and those can manifest in physical symptoms. And then autism spectrum disorder, this is kind of a, general term for developmental disorder that can significantly affect social interaction and verbal, non-verbal communication. So students with autism in your classroom, it's going to look different depending on the child. It's not just a one-size-fits-all. And then sensory, physical, and other health impairments, these can be things like vision loss, visual disabilities, hearing loss, other health impairments like cerebral palsy, or things like going on inside the body like diabetes or cystic fibrosis or seizure disorders. And then gifted and talented students are also included in exceptionalities. Gifted and talented students are often seen with really high IQs for their age, or really strong motivation in school, and they oftentimes don't get what they need in a regular classroom with regular curriculum. This video is a really awesome video that goes more into depth on different kinds of disabilities and what that might look like in a classroom.
Hello and
so you can watch that, but not right now. So what is special education? These are some of the federal legislations that made a big difference in the way that we see special education in schools now. So Public Law 94 is the Education for the Handicapped Act, and it states that every child who is disabled is entitled to free special education. So anything special education-wise, any services through special education that they receive is free. Those parents do not have to pay for those services. And then IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Act. This required schools to plan for the transition of adolescents into further education or employment starting at age 16. It also included the least restrictive environment, which basically means that a child with a disability must be educated within the same classroom as their non-disabled peers as much as possible, to the fullest extent possible. So wherever that student with a disability learns the best, that's where they need to be receiving their education. And then the Individualized Education Program, or an IEP, this describes the student's disabilities, everything that might come along with that, and then also is a guide to the services that a student might receive. And then some more key components of IDEA when it was revised and revisited in 2004. Due process rights are really important. That means that anything having to do with special education in a school, parents have to consent to, they have to have a say, and you can't do anything related to special education with a child without a parent's consent. That's really important. Another really important one is related services. So this stated that schools must provide related services under the free, appropriate public education. So related services are things that go beyond like the general education classroom. That might be a counselor or a physical therapist or a speech therapist. State assessments. That basically means that students with disabilities are required to take state or district assessments with the appropriate accommodations. And then this video is a really awesome video that goes into the steps of an IEP process. I know IEPs can be really daunting for special or general education teachers who are not really involved in that too much, but it's really important to know like what goes into an IEP. So this is a really good simple video that takes you through those steps. And then some special education services that students might receive. They might be in a general education placement. So some students with disabilities can get all of the support and all of the services that they need in a general education classroom. It's really important to collaborate with consulting teachers like the special education teachers and other professionals, like if your student is seeing a speech therapist or a physical therapist, collaborating with them and making sure that what they're receiving in the classroom is beneficial to them. Resource room placements. This is when students might spend some time in the general education classroom and then go to a resource room with a different instructor for a little while. And this might focus more on like small group instruction on a subject that the student is really struggling with, or working on some social skills, anything like that. Special education class placement with part-time inclusion. So this means that a student might be in your general education room for like 3 hours a day, and then the rest of the day they go to the special education room with the special education teacher. And then the self-contained special education, that's probably the most restrictive education service. That's when a student might go from home to a specific like school for students with disabilities and get all of their education there. And then, so response to intervention, or RTI. This is a screenshot that I took from the book. It's just a really simple explanation of what each tier is. So that's really good to look at just to get a general overview of what it is. So Tier 1 is prevention. This is whole class instruction, and this is when the teacher is using effective teaching strategies to broaden the range of students who can succeed without intervention. So the whole point of RTI is to not identify students for special education services based on tests, but rather their inability to profit from interventions. So Tier 1 is whole class instruction. This can be things like teaching really good study strategies and metacognitive skills, cooperative learning, and applying effective classroom techniques. And then Tier 2 is immediate intervention. So some students might fall behind even with those preventative strategies. So the goal here is to provide students with assistance targeted to their needs rather than considering special education. So interventions here might look like individual or small group instruction with the teacher or a peer or a special tutor, assigning students to computer-assisted instruction, or giving really structured step-by-step instructions on assignments. And then Tier 3 is intensive intervention. This is more intensive interventions for those not making progress in Tier 1 or Tier 2. These are students that are at risk for special education. So the interventions here look similar to the interventions in Tier 2, but they are higher intensity and longer duration. So in Tier 3, only after every plausible solution or intervention does not work does special education get considered. And this video takes you through what RTI looks like in an actual classroom setting. And inclusion. So this video goes through inclusive education in your classroom and reimagining what disability looks like, what you're reimagining what our preconceived notions of disability might be. Highly recommend this one. So some changes in inclusion. So the least restrictive environment clause revolutionized the practice of both special education and general education. It really increased contact between students with disabilities and students without disabilities. So what is inclusion? Inclusive education basically means that students will attend their home school with their grade level peers. So partial inclusion is when students receive most of their education in a general education classroom, but then they might be pulled to other settings like the resource room or special education room based on what they need. And then full inclusion is when students who are disabled or are at risk to receive special education services, they receive all of their instruction in a general education classroom, and then support services come to that student in that classroom. So some research on inclusion. Basically what's really important here is that some of the instructional methods using accommodations for a wide array of needs is really beneficial for both children with and without disabilities. And children who are in a general education classroom with disabilities learn better and have higher self-esteem than children taught in special education classrooms. So it's really beneficial to be with peers and to learn with them as well. So strategies for students with disabilities in general education, adapting instruction, so adapting or modifying instruction or materials and content that might be like explaining vocabulary or concepts before teaching a lesson, communication, how students receive their content, like if your student cannot read or take in what is being read, can they listen to an audiobook or can they play a game to get their information? Time, extending the time for students to take tests or complete activities, things like that. And then here's a really good screenshot from the textbook that goes more into depth on some adaptations that you can use for students with specific disabilities. Some more strategies: teaching, learning strategies, and metacognitive awareness, tutoring and small group interventions, using computers. Computers can help a lot with different things, like there's a lot of adaptations that you can have on a computer, like big text, read aloud, different delivery types, different frequencies, buddy systems, and peer tutoring. So you can have a designated